Welcome to the County Manager's Report. I'm Lloyd Higuera, and with me is our County Manager, Larry Werner. Welcome, Larry.
Thank you, Lloyd.
Nice to have you here, and we haven't been together in a while here, so we got a few meetings to cover. I thought we'd start first with the March 16th meeting and of the Board of Commissioners. And at that meeting, Commissioners did hear the draft update of the strategic plan for Douglas County. And how is that plan coming along?
Fairly well. We basically presented the plan that had been adopted in the previous years, and then asked for people to comment on that and make any modifications they saw that might change priorities to do sorts of things. And we conducted a workshop. Ultimately, basically the elements of the plan that were in place kind of stayed in place, and they kind of moved around a little bit as far as what we should spend more effort on in the upcoming years. But it's been kind of rough draft format, I guess at this stage is the way to put it, and then we'll be bringing it back to the board for final adoption, I believe in the April meeting, and if not there, it'll be the May meeting, trying to get everything kind of pinned together on that.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but are there a couple of highlights, things that the Commissioners really want to zone in on?
There were three major areas that they did. The first being infrastructure, which has always been an element of concern in Douglas County on getting adequate funding for maintaining our infrastructure. The second one was employee sustainability. We're finding that it's difficult to place positions within the county, particularly with the housing costs and the wage rates that we pay. We lose a lot of employees to some of our surrounding neighborhoods. And also we have a hard time attracting new people in. And then the third element was to try to have financial sustainability throughout all of that. So, and those three do tie together basically. Sure. On how we work. The other ones, there were three others that basically dealt with economic vitality, environment and nature, and oh Lord, I forgot.
Oh, it's always that last one.
Yeah, there's always the last one. I know what.
that gives us some good highlights of where the Commissioners are aiming right now, and we'll be hearing more about that, of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Commissioners at that March 16 meeting also adopted the Douglas County 5-year transportation plan. And how was the transportation plan coming along?
Very well. This was the final adoption of the plan. The plan initially started with the Regional Transportation Commission. They're the body charged with actually preparing the plan and bringing it forward. And essentially it's an allocation of funding from the gas tax and other sources of revenue on what are the priority roads based on need, condition, whether or not there need to be a major reconstruction or preventative maintenance or just routine maintenance. So we take a 5-year look each year, and then we basically look at funding the next upcoming year. And,
I see.
So it went well.
Okay, and of course with the gasoline tax money, we'll be seeing more road reconstruction. Correct.
Right. We've reallocated a few things. One of them was we were going to do the Mottsville lane. And that one, I believe, got it substituted for Tillman over near Gardnerville Ranchos.
Right.
Basically because of the flood damage that occurred there. So we've had to do some tweaking based on what we saw. A high priority, obviously, is Jacks Valley Road. That's been a big bone of contention with the community. And that one basically was destroyed during this last winter and the flooding that occurred. So it also has a high priority for being reconstructed.
Okay, very good. Also, Commissioners heard a presentation on Assembly Bill 43. That does propose a change in provisions governing the partial abatement of taxes levied on residential and other property. What does that mean to all of us?
Oh, it's really complex, but trying to boil it down, as most taxpayers have probably realized, is that for years there's been a cap on the amount of the assessed value that the county can charge taxes against. Does that make any sense? So even if the value of the house went up because of market things, like maybe 10 or 15%, the only amount that we can use is was a 3% cap. And so what's the difference between the 3% that we can use for assessing property tax and, say, the 10% that it actually went up is called abatement. Well, what happened last year was that there was a underlying secondary cap that nobody really paid a lot of attention to for years that's based off of commercial properties. And the commercial properties increase by no more than 8% or the average CPI over a 10-year period. Well, that average CPI over the last 10-year period is like 2%. or 0.2%. Well, the secondary cap on residential says it can't go higher than commercial. So instead of having a 3% cap that we normally had, it was limited to 0.2%. And it effectively really impacted the amount of property tax revenues that local jurisdictions receive. So there was a proposal in there is to not only have a ceiling cap, but then have a floor. And what they elected to, or proposing to do, is to set that floor at what the current rate is this year, which is 2.6%. So effectively, the property tax increases could range from a 2.6 to a 3% over the next few years if this bill should pass. So
I see.
Very complicated, but what it's trying to do is stabilize both for the property owner and local government what property tax revenues might be coming in.
Well, you weren't kidding when you said it was complicated.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about the abatement stuff. That one we won't even go there, but essentially that's what it attempts to do.
Okay. And what are the chances of that one passing?
I think it's pretty high because the negative impact of the significantly low increase in property tax was pretty dramatic to the county's operating fund, and not only Douglas County, but all the other counties as well.
Sure.
And we did not see the difference made up through sales tax or any of the other taxes that the county has. So we did some pretty serious rollback on a lot of the costs that we could deal with and that sort of thing. And we're trying to get it back so we can have a stable revenue picture and really begin to plan out, particularly to try to address some of the priorities that the board talked about.
Yeah. Okay. Also at the meeting, commissioners heard a presentation and update on the Lake Tahoe maximum daily load, including goals, obligations, and costs. And we've talked about the maximum daily load enough now, I think, where people understand it. They're starting to anyway.
And essentially what that is it's based on a pollutant that impacts Lake Tahoe. They determined which pollutant is the most critical for maintaining lake clarity. And then they set a maximum amount that can go into the lake of that particular pollutant. And those limits have been set, and then it's up to jurisdictions that have authority around the lake then to come up with programs that limit that maximum daily load. And through that, we end up with a memorandum of understanding with the Nevada Division of Environmental Protection to do certain programs over the next 10 years to try to reduce that maximum daily load. So Eric Nilsson, our county engineer, gave a presentation about how that kind of all got set up, what we've got planned and where we sit with our requirements. We're actually ahead of what we need to meet to satisfy the state and federal requirements on reducing the load up at the lake, which is a good thing. And we continue then to try to do programs that'll meet the future requirements. So.
Well, Douglas County is one of the stars in this. They've done the most to remediate the daily maximum load going into the lake.
We have, and a lot of it is due to the work that some of the general improvement districts do up at the lake, particularly the Kingsbury Grade General Improvement District. They've done a lot to do things within their boundaries to help us meet the maximum daily load, so we're really pleased with that.
Commissioners also approved the purchase of an Asphalt Zipper. This sounds like something in your wheelhouse here.
Yeah.
At a cost of $106,999. What does a zipper do?
What is it? Well, actually, it unzips and zips the asphalt.
Oh, okay.
As you may have noticed, and I'm sure some of your viewers will have noticed, that even though we tried to patch potholes this winter, they'd last probably about 4 hours.
Yeah.
It seems like we just get the asphalt down, and in the typical way of filling a pothole, and then heavy traffic would come by and it would pop it right out again. What the zipper does is actually grinds a level of asphalt, and then it picks it up in the front end as it grinds it, and then you can add oil to the grindings, and it relays it back down on the backside. So effectively, it does about a 6-foot wide swath that really puts in a permanent patch that will probably outlast the life of the road that's surrounding it. But we were kind of tired of spending a lot of time and personnel on stuff that is really ineffective. So this will help the maintenance crews.
So the Asphalt Zipper to the rescue.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, we'll look forward to seeing that in action. Commissioners adopted a resolution at the meeting and an ordinance modifying the service plan for the Tahoe Douglas District to provide storm drainage and flood control. We've talked about this one quite a bit. Is this the final action now?
That was the final action, right. What that does is it gives the authority to the Tahoe Douglas District to be able to provide stormwater services within their boundaries. And the Tahoe Douglas District basically extends from Glenbrook all the way down to close to maybe Round Hill, a little bit further south than that. And they provide sewer services, sanitary sewer collection services. But they've got a lot of clients in the area that would also need some help on storm drainage. But they didn't have the authority to provide that. So this provides them with the authority now to continue doing some storm draining work along with their sanitary sewer work.
I see. Okay, so expanding their services. Really.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay, also Commissioners approved a lay member for the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency Advisory Planning Commission.
Right. The Tahoe Regional Planning Agency Advisory Planning Commission is a subunit of the TRPA, which effectively helps them looking at land use planning issues and then reports back up to the full board of the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency. They had a member that left that was a Douglas County representative. He had moved to a different part of the lake and therefore fell outside the boundary of Douglas County. He went into Washoe County. So we advertised and received an application from Mike Riley, who's a well-qualified person to be appointed to that board, and he was by this board action.
Okay, very good. Commissioners also discussed legislative issues proposed for the state legislative session. What's the latest from the legislature?
Boy,
I know it's a lot.
This is where you go back to Mark Twain's quote, I think, but I won't go there. There is a ton coming out. In fact, last night I received a little over 120 bills that look like they might impact us out of the 800 and some that have been introduced. There's just a lot happening, all the way from immigration to government oversight to just about everything you can imagine. A lot of it is pretty interesting and be effective. A lot of it is somewhat problematic, and at this stage we're just kind of going through that to see whether or not we oppose it or support it or stay neutral on it. And most of those we actually, as the county, have taken a neutral position because it's more of a legislative battle to try to see whether or not the law comes into place or not, and whether certain ones do or not, we'll deal with it. But they've been very active. As you know, last night, Monday night, was the deadline for getting bills out, so
there was
it was a storm.
Yeah. And that is available to the public, isn't it, that website?
Absolutely. If you go in the Nevada Law Library and you click the link to NELIS, N-E-L-I-S, that gives you an opportunity to review all the bills and also to identify those bills that you want to be notified as to where they are in the process. It can give you, if it's scheduled for hearings or if it's had a hearing, what the committee has held on it. It's a pretty informative thing.
So it beats counting sheep. I mean, if you've got insomnia, that'll put you.
Well, it was
right
close. I was working about midnight last night. It was a struggle.
Well, that pretty well covers the meeting and of the 16th. And do you have a preview of any items that are coming up before the BOCC?
What's coming up immediately is next week, Monday through Thursday, starting at 3 p.m. and probably going late into the evening with a dinner break at about 5:30, will be budget presentations by the individual county departments to talk about their budget, their programs, their priorities, to try to give particularly the new commissioners a sense of what each department does and why they do it. And so that could be really interesting as well.
Okay, and we'll be recording all that, and they'll also be streaming on the county's website too.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah. Okay. Because of our busy schedules, we've had trouble meeting up lately for a county manager's report, and there are a couple of meetings we did miss, and I thought maybe we could kind of go over a couple of the items from those two meetings to get us back on track again.
Sure.
So looking at the February 16th meeting of the Board of Commissioners, at that meeting, commissioners approved funding for the services of professionals required for the upcoming grand jury, and that estimated cost would be $100,000. What kind of professionals? Lawyers or?
It could be expert witness. It could be lawyers. It could be well, I think basically that's it. If they have to pay to have somebody come in to provide testimony, particularly like I say an expert witness, then it helps cover that. I think it also covers the jury payments that the jurors get themselves, that sort of thing.
So kind of an operating budget.
There you go. That's a
Yeah.
good example.
Okay. And when will we see that jury impaneled, do you think? Just
The jury has been impaneled.
well, it is impaneled now.
Yeah.
Okay. I
guess,
missed that.
I guess I'm allowed to say that.
Oh.
I have a hard time understanding what you can say about the grand jury or not, but they are meeting, and with I have no idea how long that will
Right.
go,
But the process is in motion.
it is.
Okay, very good. Also at that meeting, commissioners authorized the county manager to provide notice of Douglas County's intent to withdraw from the Nevada Public Agency Insurance Pool and Public Agency Compensation Trust.
Yes, this is based on taking a look at what we pay into the Nevada Public Agency Insurance Pool and Compensation Trust, what we commonly refer to as Pool Pact. And we took a look at our premiums versus the coverage that we're paying for, and we're thinking at this stage that it may be very cost effective to go out and become self-insured in these areas. When I was with Carson City, we did that about 5 or 6 years ago, and it saved the county in Carson probably about $800,000 to $1 million a year.
Wow.
And the risk that we assumed was well within what we could cover. It's just trying to be more cost effective in what we're doing. We haven't made the decision to do that at all, but we have to provide notice to Pool Pack. If the board does take action to withdraw, we have to give them 120 days notice that we're thinking about that. And probably in May, we'll be making a presentation to the board about if we were to get like insurance on the private market and we become self-insured in other areas, what those costs are versus what we've been paying Pool Pack, and have the board make that final determination.
Okay, so we'll be hearing more about this one.
Yes.
Then looking at March 2nd, the commission meeting there, commissioners heard a presentation on a space needs assessment at the Judicial and Law Enforcement Center in Minden. Are they getting short on space there?
They are. I believe the facility was probably built 20, 25 years ago, and it is now kind of bursting at the seams. We've got a lot of issues with security, a lot of issues when it comes to the court system where you try to maintain separation between plaintiffs and defendants and jurors and that sort of thing. It's just not designed efficiently for that. So we're taking a look at that and then looking to the future of what it would be maybe over the next 15, 20 years for that building, and trying to get a sense of what size we need. I think when they looked at that, they looked at probably about a $30 million price tag to do that improvement. And at the same time, though, I've asked our project manager who deals with this to take a look at all county facilities. For example, we have trouble with our information technology system. A lot of our equipment's located in basement areas, and that's just not a good spot to have electronics if we have flooding, which has occurred. So we're going to take a look at that and actually try to come up with some kind of a facility management plan that talks about how do we deal with all these issues in the long term. And eventually I'll probably do some kind of a white paper to the board that talks about funding sources and the ability to do it. But right now we're trying to get our handle around not only the judicial and law enforcement facility, but also some of the other county facilities.
Well, you know one thing for sure. It'll be expensive.
It will be expensive,
Yeah.
Exactly.
One more item at meeting the second. Commissioners adopted a resolution establishing a special annual assessment for the Carson Valley, Eagle Valley, Antelope Valley, and Lake Tahoe groundwater basins to be placed on the 2017-2018 tax roll. What's this one about?
This is a mandate from the state that relates to the state engineer's office that monitors groundwater pumping, that sort of thing. They, in monitoring and tracking water rights, require that the groundwater basins that they have rights issued into, that there's a tax assessment to help fund that particular program. So even though it shows up on the county's tax roll, it's a pass-through of 100% of that goes back to the state engineer's office with the state of Nevada.
I see. Okay. So more taxes.
More taxes.
Okay, well that pretty well wraps up a look at a few of the meetings of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners. Larry, I want to thank you for all the information you shared here on the County Manager's Report. I'm Lloyd Higuera for County Manager Larry Werner and the County Manager's Report.